next weekend, and I am
Dude,
so envious.
We're back.
I've heard legends of Emerald City.
It's so close to when session ends, and it's not there. I will never get to go to Emerald City Comic Con again because it will always be during session. Man, the biggest Warhammer tournament possibly in the world is also during session every year. Man, quit doing fun stuff in February. That's what February's for.
It's cheaper
supposed to
to do
sit
it
in your house?
February than to do it at any other time, given
That's
event
true.
space and rentals and travels and hotels, because nobody is doing anything.
That is true.
Cheaper to do.
Yeah, because everyone's in session.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just wish everybody would actually do nothing and then do it during the times when I'm available. I can't go to the AVNs either because they're going on in January. That sucks. Which is like the big porn convention in Las Vegas.
I'm super happy that the stream got to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely.
What happens at a porn convention?
It's whatever. I don't care. It is talking about advancements in the adult entertainment sector in a variety of different ways. We're talking about like regular media, talking about virtual reality stuff. We're talking about sex dolls and sex robots. Like
toys. I see.
Yeah, like
getting to meet your
we're talking
porn stars. Get autographs. Yeah,
there is
part of it.
There is actually a big thing of like it's not necessarily meet and greets because it's an industry thing. But I think there is a component to that the public is able to go to as well, where there's like an expo hall. And so yeah, it's everything from like toys and stuff to what the future holds.
Interesting.
It's like it's fun to call it, oh, it's a big porn convention, but there's a lot there that's actually really interesting. And I'll never get to go, but there's a part of me that's like, yeah, but I could just like go to panels about sex robots. That's really interesting.
That's what you could use your extra money on.
I would need to work a few more sessions for that. I don't think that's going to be under 4 figures. All right. Well, now that I have barely scratched the surface of my deviancy, let's get right back to it.
Hooray!
Tyrus, you are holding. What's that?
Who is she? You left us with, you can't stop us. She's already coming.
Oh, yes.
I mean, that would be rude anyway.
So
my first instinct was to headbutt the guy, but who is she?
The person under the cloak gives you a big old toothy, and I say that kind of loosely because the teeth are also a little loosey. Smile and just says, hell, she's probably already here. And he gives you he blows a kiss at you and then collapses, like goes boneless right in your arms.
Whose arms? My arms?
My arms.
Tyrus, yeah, he was still like grabbing onto the figure. Holden, you're the only person that maybe hasn't gotten a great view of this. And you just see like a very plain dude. In fact, all of you just see a perfectly plain dude. Like this guy looks like he probably works at a market stand and it doesn't do particularly well. But, it's enough to get by because he sells like cheap shoes or something.
So he's also like a part-time goon?
I mean, no, because the outdoorsy folk who's missing a lot of teeth and the fairly plain, kind of boring dude are two different faces. and you're only seeing the latter.
So we got Jethro and Vanilla.
Hmm.
Which one is the one that's trying to stab Recklin?
Uh,
Or is that
They are-
has that already happened?
it's more like that's not going to happen now, but they are the same figure. And I think this has been a very confusing thing to try and say. I hope that the people who I DM'd at least understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's like a face shifter of some sort, I assume.
We'll go with that.
I don't understand.
Great, that's fine. Of all of the characters here, you are probably the one that should not.
That's good. We not to derail. We played Jackbox the other night, and I have had that exact same experience twice now in like 24 hours. We played that game where you have to like sort yourselves into 3 categories,
Oh yeah.
and one of you is secretly the outlier. And halfway through the game, I got kind of frustrated and told the stream and everybody on it, look, unless I am the outlier, this game makes no sense to me. I was in fact the outlier.
Perfect.
I think twice, no less.
Yeah, both games.
Man. I'm sad I missed those. I came in just the last time to draw some shirts. Or I didn't draw Jack. It was Cole drawing, and then I made them funny.
Serious.
Yeah, that's what happened with me.
Yeah.
So we got a random, potentially shape-shifting person, and is he killing Racklin, not killing Racklin, has already killed Racklin, or is about to kill Racklin?
I mean, at this point, the only person that's killing Racklin is Rayun. Racklin has tumbled to the floor at the base of the podium, and like he's breathing. He's bleeding a little bit from the very beginning of a crystal stab wound, and a pretty decent slash to his back.
Does time seem to be moving normally?
Yeah, actually, it does. I've been kind of using the torches as a good indicator now that there's no blood. Well, now that there's a lot less of Racklin's blood on the ground. And for the first time since you've entered this room, the torches appear to be flickering normally.
Am I still at Racklin's side?
Close enough, sure.
Okay. Racklin, what happened? Are you okay?
He is tremendously confused, and when he sees you, like, it takes a second for him to register that it's you. For just a second, he starts to recoil. And well, I don't know who to trust anymore. Who are you?
It's me, Mira. We talked just a few hours ago. What brought you here?
He looks around to the group of you and who are your culinarians?
Ranmar and Pelna. You just sent Rare to meet with us at Ranmar's workshop.
He starts nodding pretty heavily. And kind of cuts you off and says, I'm so glad that you're here. Oh, goodness. This is...
Who was that guy?
I don't know. I'm sorry. This has been a new experience. He looked like you, Tyrus.
Did you have a conversation with them at any point?
Does anyone know what it looks like? I have always been wearing a helmet.
I'm going to go with You know what? No, we'll go with this. No, he had your mask, your faceplate.
Weird.
All right, everybody draw weapons, point them at Tyrus, and demand the command word.
Done. I'm just
I
gonna
do
look
so.
at him and glare. Say
Fat
it.
cut.
Nice.
All right.
I'm sorry. I think Ray and you had a question in there too.
Did you, Racklin, did you talk to this person at any point?
Very briefly. He said that he was looking for Ramhan,
That's
and
what brought
that
us
made
here.
sense. Right, I had sent you to investigate, and so I assumed that he was investigating Ramhan. Welcome back. He says, yes, it must have been them. It's the same cloak. Well, this is very unnerving. But I only asked that, and there was going to be a brief struggle. He was very strong. Did not see that coming. No offense, Tyrus.
I don't respond.
Well, Sorry, I'm a bit shaken. I have to admit. But I think I owe you my lives. No, life. You all my life. So thank you for that. You all appeared out of nowhere.
You were certainly not what we were expecting to find when we came here looking for any information about where he might be.
I'm sorry for that. I was trying to dig up information on where Ramhen might be. I got trapped in this room for a few minutes, and then before I could react, well, who I thought was Tyrus was in the room with me. But I suppose it's good news that it looks like Raman's altar is back.
Altar like doppelganger or altar like place of worship?
He gestures over towards the crystal on stand.
Copy.
He points a hand and wing towards it and says, "Go on ahead. He turns back and sees that the door is not there. Says, well, never mind. I suppose I will go with you. And he walks right up to that crystal. Gives you all the most comforting nod that he can. And places his hand on that crystal and is instantly gone.
Well, then we'd best do the same and get out of this weird time loop place.
those of you who had interactions or experiences with the person that tried to kill him, are you satisfied we've learned all that we can learn about that and that person already? Is there any reason to stay here? And can that crystal be removed? Because it didn't start here.
Holden, why don't you give me another investigation roll? That's enough. Right around the rumpled bit of clothing that was where Tyrus was holding on to Tyrus, you see actually pretty clearly what's becoming a fairly familiar icon. A small golden dagger cloak clasp.
Hey,
And-
isn't that one thing?
It is a recurring bit of symbolism for sure. I'm sorry, I think maybe I missed something when I'm slightly confused, so I want to ask a dumb question.
Please?
Is there a dead body in this room?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The person
How
that
did-
Tyrus was holding on to muttered at Tyrus and then just ceased to be.
Like, just drop dead of a heart attack right there on the floor.
I think I described it as he went boneless.
Nice, okay.
Yeah.
That's the thing about the dim mock.
As Mira stands over him, does he still look the same?
No, he looks like a fairly nondescript used shoe salesman.
Okay.
Can we search the rest of his body to see
Sure.
if there's anything else of interest on him?
Absolutely. Your investigation roll was good enough that you see that cloak, that clasp. It looks like he also had a weapon or two on him, and there's that crystal, and that's kind of it.
And the crystal that he has on him is what Racklin touched to leave this room?
Nope, different crystal.
Okay.
It's a little confusing that there are two crystals here, but we're doing our best. There is the large crystal that was glowing and is now colorless on the pedestal. I'm going to use a different word every time at this rate. And then there is the fairly large but smaller than that shard that is still emitting an eerie black glow that was in his grasp and is now on the ground beside the man.
Before anybody touches it, have we ascertained whether or not it's magical? And if not, may I cast Detect Magic to determine it?
You may absolutely do that, and to my knowledge, nobody has done any investigation on the crystal yet.
No,
Okay.
none.
Oh, good news. Yeah, it's magical. This whole room is super, super magical. But you definitely can sense a different kind of magic in this crystal. Like, if the whole room was blue, you look at the crystal and you see black.
I wonder what
Do I
kind of
sense
magic
an
it is.
associated school of magic connected to the crystal?
You can't hear the sound of my Rolodex brain flipping through all of the schools. Actually, yes, you do. You can sense that it is designed to be similar to an abjuration spell, but you can tell, like, you are arcane trained. This is not arcane. In fact, I was hoping I'd find it a lot faster, But I'm going to give you this one. Rayun, you in particular feel something really off about this thing.
Something doesn't feel right. Can I cast Divine Sense?
Sure.
I do so.
It turns out you sense two infernal things. Fiendish things?
Fiend.
Two evil religious things that I'll remember the
cast
word for in a second.
Fiendship.
Demonic?
The crystal is very certainly fiendish. And also that pin that Holden is holding. In fact, actually, you sense a few of them because at this point, Holden now has 3 of
Got
them.
a small collection, yeah.
He's building Exodia.
I got bad news about this one.
Oh no.
It's the head.
So yeah, that's pretty much what you get out of that is this is not arcane. This is definitely divine, but the bad kind. You know what? And I'll even give you this. The feeling that you get from the crystal is very similar to the feeling you get from the pins.
The pins and the crystal are not good magic. Very bad, very dark. Handle with caution, Holden.
I'm not even sure we should touch it.
If you want to take it back, this is my warning, is handle with caution.
It's like most people only ever think about the positive side of abjuration magic and like, ooh, I need a shield spell. But it's also magical suppression. And potentially up to and including imprisonment.
Yeah.
So like either this has the potential, like in a worst case scenario, to trap someone, or perhaps it already has, and I don't want to be responsible for releasing what's trapped. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I
mean,
feel
we
like
can't leave it here in an empty hallway, but
yeah.
Maybe we can go trade it to the requisitions office for something cooler.
Well,
Out of
again,
sight, out of mind.
Can we touch
Again,
it with
handle-
the dead guy's body?
Yeah, sure, you can borrow his cloak.
wrap it in the cloak and just
Tuck it in the bag
Yeah,
of
just-
holding and forget that we have it
and then
until such time as we can safely destroy it or further identify it.
right.
Yeah, all of that seems perfectly fine. So congratulations, you now have a definitely not evil crystal. Feel free to log that into your inventory, Holden.
I will call it the definitely not evil crystal.
And then, what's everybody doing?
I want to go through the back door over here.
I want to touch the crystal and see if I can follow Racklin.
All right. Well, we learned 2 things very suddenly. The door does not budge, Tyrus.
Okay.
And Mira similarly vanishes in not even a flash of light. Just she's gone.
Like the Harry Potter like transportation, like just or just disappeared.
I like
Just
it. I
disappeared.
apparated.
Oh,
Like there's no flash of light, there's no green flames. She's just one frame she's there, and the next frame she got edited out. Is anybody not touching that crystal?
I guess I'll go up and touch it.
Is there anything that's happening like in this space right now?
No. There's nothing going on anymore.
I didn't.
There,
look
in fact, there
door
are.
that we entered in through reappear or.
Nope.
All right.
Sure didn't.
So I guess this is the exit.
So it sounds like everybody's going to touch the crystal. When you do, instantly, like with no transition or fanfare, you find yourself standing on nothingness. In fact, you find yourself surrounded by the night sky in every direction. Flashes of light are forming here and there, but as to where here and there or anywhere is, you have no idea.
If I take a step and I look down, is there like ripple effects?
No, because if you try and take a step, you realize that you have no purchase on which to step.
So are we like
Whoa.
floating?
Sure are.
I'm gonna kazoo. One of these days, the kazoo is gonna do something, and I'm gonna figure out what it is.
It is,
Will help
but
me.
probably not in space.
Maybe it will help me spacewalk. We don't know. That's why I try.
Mhm.
And everybody can just roll
Uh,
their eyes at me. And I'll just shrug.
In the emptiness of space, ignoring the fact that sound doesn't work in space because that's not fun, there is no sound except for the solitary toot.
But Racklin is here.
Racklin is beside you, and this actually doesn't look to shake him very much.
So is this like an elevator or something? I asked that to Racklin.
He looks at you and holds up a hand and wing and says, "Hold on, he's on his way."
Who's on his way?
Who's on his way?
There's about a second or two wait. A couple seconds into. Oh gosh. A couple seconds into Racklin holding for a pause, you hear a fairly commanding voice say to the lot of you, "So then, it's done."
I'm gonna look at Holden and raise one eyebrow and shrug.
What? What is done?
The intruder has been dispatched.
I'm just gonna like look around, like looking for a face or someone to talk to, and be like, who are you? Why am I in space? I don't know what's going on here. I'm real confused.
I just look up and I go, Rockman? I was trying to remember his name.
Racklin nods to Tyrson Raguns. "Counselor, I believe that your security system has done the trick. It is safe to come out now."
We found ramen!
A few seconds of a light magic glows in front of you, and appearing first as a bundle of scrap cloth, it forms into the figure of Ramhen, wielding his enormous whisk. He looks at the lot of you a little curiously, but smiles and nods to Racklin. Ah, wonderful. This is fantastic. And that means you are the adventurers that stopped the intruder, yes?
After you
I
let
believe
him
so.
kill Racklin, what are you doing here?
Did we really do anything to stop him?
I mean, I manhandled him.
I
We did reverse
tried to
time.
push.
It's like, did you
That is-
cast remove bones?
It's possible.
Mm.
What?
I'll
What-
try again in
what?
the future.
What was that thing?
Sorry, which thing are you asking about?
The thing we fought. Technically,
Hmm.
the intruder.
Just that. An intruder. I thought they might come, so I defended my crystal appropriately. And if you're here, successfully. Forgive me. I am Ramhen, oldest of the counselors. You have not come here for no reason. What can I do to aid you?
Have you been like in your security system all this time? Like how like when was the first time you actually entered here?
I am uncertain as to what day it is on the material plane. However, I began this meditation less than a day after the feast was announced. I sensed something coming, a dark future approaching, and I retreated to oblivion to divine the source.
Well, you'd be correct in your guesses and educated guess, I mean.
Unfortunately, not long after I entered, I felt a great pain, a stabbing straight in my soul, and found myself unable to wake. I feel it even now. You carry his implement.
We have that crystal that this intruder stabbed into Racklin. Or did? What? I mean, timey-wimey stuff.
He nods at you. Says, yes. That is the implement I sensed.
Is it would you like it, or
He looks around the space around you and says, "No, it would be unwise politically for me to carry it here. It is a time of great celestial upheaval.
I see.
Beings greater than us are making plans. The pantheon shifts forward and backwards.
Are they waiting to see what happens during the feast? Or
I think the feast is their battleground. You see on his face, he almost looks like he's learning these things as he's saying them. Like there's a sense of discovery in his eyes as he's saying these things out loud.
so are is the Pantheon supposed to champion like some of the Culinarians, or what's gonna happen?
No, no. The guild, the nations, mortals, we are all just playthings. Toys for their amusement. To play, to break, to forget.
Of the Pantheon, how, or I should say, which, I guess, gods are in this said Pantheon? Is it just in a numerous amount, or like a
He
set amount?
he shakes his head. You could see he's smiling when he says, "The gods are as innumerous as the age. Time flows infinitely, and gods spawn, fight, die, and new ones take their mantles.
By any chance, do you know which ones are at the forefront?
He thinks about the question. There are the Satiri Upper Pantheon. 16 or so. Gods that lead the others. Telemar among them still, though his favor wanes. The feast will bring him back to glory. I suppose. Anyway.
Is there an opportunity for us to speak amongst ourselves, or is this likely to be overheard by Racklin and Rumham?
I'm going to say if you try really hard, you could probably whisper to one another. And I will even give you, yes, you can like glare at Racklin and he will ignore you politely.
Eh.
So, I don't know how you guys feel about trusting Rumham. He's saying some interesting things. I want to ask him a question, but I'm not sure if he has an agenda yet. This is the third time that's been brought to our attention that Telemar is a god sort of on the outs, and that a great feast might be an opportunity for him to regain favor or followers. If divine strength does come from worship, then the fewer people who believe in him, the weaker he'd become. It's been, I think, at least hinted at or alluded to a couple of times now. Do you think there's a world where there's a competitive interest that would like him to remain not at all known and fall into anonymity and become powerless? And if so, do you think that there's any chance that that god has a holy symbol or a religious symbol that is a golden dagger? And should we follow that lead by asking Rumham what he knows about it?
Yeah, might as well.
I feel like he is he's been in this space for so long that he is now just like a speaker for, I guess, this greater universe. So maybe
The problem is too, though, that if he's become that disconnected with humanity, he might not have any problem killing people if it advanced the greater agenda. So I don't like, if we tell him what we're thinking, we also become easily manipulatable. But because if he gives us the answer that I want to hear, even if it's not the truth, we're inclined to want to believe it.
yeah, I can see your point on that.
I don't know.
I think we can probably assume that he's not the member of the culinarian leadership that's doing the underhanded and devious things that have started since that we're investigating. I think it would be okay to ask him about it, and we could also potentially ask him as the oldest culinarian if he has any suspicions of his younger counterparts. I suppose we could start also just by asking Racklin if he thinks that we can speak freely. Because we've already talked to Racklin, he already knows everything that we're working on, so I think that he would probably tell us if we can do so.
I think probably asking Racklin for that advice to speak probably would be a good idea.
Okay, sorry. I'm gonna ask you to repeat what you're gonna ask Racklin, and also politely verbally ask Sav to mute his Discord notification sound.
Oh,
You've gotten like 20 messages in the last 5 minutes.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I felt bad because one of the notification sound was me DMing him saying, "Hey, please mute that." And so, yeah, Mir, if you wouldn't mind repeating that question.
So before we talk to Romhen, I just wanted to ask Racklin, since he already knows all about our situation,
Mhm.
do you think it's okay for us to be frank with Romhen on our mission and what we're working on and ask him questions? Can he be trusted? And I'm just going to very pointedly ask him that in front of Romhen because
Racklin looks up at Romhen and then back at you and says, I will be honest with you. I don't know if Romhen has ever shown any sort of political agenda. As far as I'm concerned, he has simply existed to cook and further the guild. I think he might be the most trustworthy of the seven. He says that with a look of surprise on his face. It says, I hadn't really thought of that.
very well. And I'll look at Holden and nod my consent for him to ask his questions.
I ask my questions.
I'm going to do my best to answer, but that question was like 15 Discord messages ago. But it was effectively, is it possible that there is some other great power that's trying to disrupt Telemar?
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think you mentioned, would have a golden dagger as a sign or something?
Yeah, just trying to connect two things that we seem to be encountering more than once repeatedly and see if they're, I don't believe in coincidence.
He looks at you with that same smile as you ask the question. And at first, it's actually kind of infuriating, but he gives you a very slow nod and says, it is no longer a secret once more than one person knows of it. I believe that we are in agreement.
Do you think that any of your fellow culinarians would be helping this other entity?
Spilled across a tablecloth, a dark wine, blotting out a beautiful white tapestry. There is a sense there of betrayal. Someone within the guild.
Yes. And we mean to find out who.
You have my support. Unfortunately, I've been bound here. That pain I felt locked me in this oblivion. A peaceful place, but blinding. When you are ready, I will return us to the material plane. But I can't say that I will have learned much in my time here.
What may you have known from before your time here started? I imagine that what we're investigating couldn't have been implemented without time, planning, and opportunity.
I first felt my dark future approaching several months ago. I think that the true evil here lies in Telemar's shadow. It is responsible for the stain on our tablecloth. He turns his head very slowly towards one of the bright lights in the distance. Says, I see the celestial beings stir. We should return before they find us. Please, come with me. He raises his arm and holds out a crystal very similar to the one in his office, floating above his hand. Racklin looks to you and says, if you have any other questions, I guess now would be the time. But Ramhen will be back with us. We can check in if need be. And he floats forward, I guess, sort of just segue, leans forward and propels himself. And when he gets in range, pokes the crystal and disappears from, the very least, this map.
Before I touch the crystal, can I ask Ramhen one more question, or did he already go?
Oh no, Ramhen is still there. He's holding the crystal and looking at the four of you.
Oh, okay. Is the shadow that you speak of the Herald?
His brow furrows a little bit. I can't say for certain who, but I am not looking to Telemar. I look beyond him. I look to the celestial pantheon. He actually smiles a little bit, a warm smile of like a parental figure. And says, Telemar is a being of great justice, but he has slain many evils and made many enemies of them.
Haven't we all? And I poke the crystal.
Right? Who hasn't been there?
Right? Half of us just faced our enemies just a few minutes ago.
Who hasn't thrown an axe at somebody once in a while, you know?
Who hasn't accidentally stabbed their bird friend in the back?
Hey, I can only say that. Who hasn't stabbed their friend in the back?
I'm satisfied. I will follow Mira.
I'm also going to touch the crystal.
I will follow suit.
All right. You touch that crystal and find yourselves mercifully outside of his office. Romhen appears a second later, startlingly suddenly, gives you all a nod, and then walks back into the door that you guys walked into actually only like 10 minutes ago. There is a brilliant light blue light, and you just barely see that before the door shuts. Racklin is with you, just asking, well, good job. It's late. It might be best for us to retire for the night. The ceremony's tomorrow.
We still have a few more people to interview, and you should probably have your wounds tended to.
He nods. Yes. We will have plenty of time, and including a bit of time before the ceremony tomorrow. It would be best not to interrupt too many of the culinarians before their bedtimes.
Let us see you safely, either to get help or back to your quarters then.
He starts walking, like, not full limp, but, a little slowly. And as he does, I will be fine. I'll call the administrators and have them send someone up to provide some herbs and a nice pot of stew. I'll be right as rain. Thank you for your concern, though. Sorry I doubted you.
I think a doubt will probably serve you well during this time.
We're going to do just a little bit of fast forwarding, and I'm going to temporarily plop you guys in Racklin's office. Not necessarily because that's where you are, but because it's a better place for you guys to be looking at for a second than space. We will probably pick up the investigation in the morning. As Racklin said, hey, it's getting late. I am curious to know what your guys' plan is, and then we may get a step or two into it before we call it for the night.
Who specifically was asking us to find Roman again?
I think both Rare and Gogra said that they had not seen Romhen in a long time.
He was
Actually,
on our
I think
list of people to interview while we try to figure out who the mole is in the culinary.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious if someone was showing more interest in finding him than others, and if that might point out if they were trying to kill him.
No, actually, I think both Rare and Gogra, and also maybe Ranmar and Pelma mentioned that he had been gone for a while. I think everybody has said that.
Okay. So we can't suss anyone out there.
What resources do we have for getting more information about the Pantheon?
Well, there is a cathedral here. It will not be as large a religious repository as in other parts of the archipelago. If you wanted a complete picture, you would probably need to get a hold of someone in Satir.
Do we have a way to communicate with the librarian that we left there? That we helped? If not, would Andromeda be a good resource for information?
Oh, Andromeda would be a phenomenal resource for her.
Alright, we should probably be locating her on our list.
Andromeda is just phenomenal in general. But to your question before that, Racklin lets you know at some point that if you want to get information from Satir and you know who you're reaching out to, he could probably arrange for a dinner bell conversation. It would just take a little while because you have to set that one up in advance, at least a little bit. Like he has to call and then they have to be close enough to answer. Sort of like telephone in the 90s.
What do you guys think?
I think that's not a terrible idea.
Yeah,
Wouldn't be a terrible idea to
I'm
contact
interested
them.
in, like, my renewed interest is in trying to figure out if there is another deity with a symbol that is the now ubiquitous golden dagger. But yeah, I'm happy to start wherever you guys are. I feel like all answers in time.
Okay. Then it sounds like that is the plan, and Racklin does some like quick parchment math to figure this out, and that he will probably be able to get you guys that call by the end of the day tomorrow. But that it's like, that's just we gotta pencil each other into our schedules.
Okay.
And actually, he does make a point to ask, because he needs to know this, who specifically you're asking for.
I'm going to look at the group and ask, would it be more valuable to speak to the librariate, or would it be more valuable to speak to the Telemar god at the place of worship that we encountered? Since representatives there study all of the gods.
Probably one of the representatives. What was the name of that one we talked to at the entrance who kept trying to convert us?
Yeah, there are three. This is why I'm asking, because I can think of 3 people in Satir that you had talked to that might have this information. There was Wolin, the head librarian, Celebron, the I forget his title, but the man who greeted you on the steps, who had the big old tome with information, and then Capon, the current high priest.
Celebrat would be my choice, or my
Done.
suggestion.
Sold.
He's got a big old book of all the deities, so if we're looking at who has the golden dagger, he would know the best.
Racklin eyes flash real quick, and he says, "Actually, I have one more idea, but it's a little more reckless."
Hey, that's how Tyrus rolls.
That's right up my alley.
He smiles at you, his edges of his beak curling into a bit of a grin, and says, "Even you might have a problem with this one. But what if I arranged a meeting with Telemar?"
Done. Yes.
Sure.
And I think that's where I'm going to end the session.
All right.
Because that sounds like a really good line to drop
That's
on.
a good cliffhanger right there.
I'm so glad we got to that room. I've had that room in a page on Roll20 for like a month and a half.
Nice. Oh, were we supposed to find him much sooner?
I wasn't sure how long it was going to take for us to get here, but like that was one of the first things I designed for this was like what people were going to say, and I had an idea of generally people's ambitions, but then I was like, all right, but I need cool stuff to happen too.
Oh, I was so sad that Racklin was dead. I'm really happy that we were able to save him.
Hey.